Hi, I'm here to review the Nyko Perfect Shot along with House of the Dead 2 and 3 Return. Actually, yeah. As a fighting game fan and space shooter fan, I also like to play light gun games because they really immerse you in the experience of the linear story they tell. And as someone who has all the Time Crisis games, I immediately went to get Nintendo Wii for the same reason that any other light gun fan would get it, which is you use a remote control to control stuff on the screen, which instantly means you should have Time Crisis games on there. Unfortunately, that's not the case, but we do have some really good games on it now, thanks to Nintendo recognizing the demand for it. One of those games is House of the Dead 2. We also have some really awesome peripherals. The Wii Zapper is really great. It's great for Medal of Honor 2, or actually Medal of Honor Heroes 2. It's great for Link's crossbow training. And it's pretty awesome for Umbrella Chronicles. It's suited very well for that. But for games such as Ghost Squad and House of the Dead 2, they don't fulfill that old school requirement that is holding an actual gun in your hand. There are a lot of mimics that try to make up for this. It's a common complaint with the Wii Zapper. And the most popular one right now is, of course, the Nyko. A lot of people have given it a lot of good reviews, and I'm here to tell you what it's all about. I just got it a few hours ago, and I'm just going to show you what it's about, what's going on. So basically, as always, you've got a piece of plastic holding the Wiimote. The Wiimote goes inside here. If you can see that, that's where it connects into. And what's nice is you can connect the classic controller if you really wanted to, or Wii Nunchuk here. So it's actually an adapter, an extension, whatever. You slide it in here, and you put this on top, and you might think that's really stupid, but because it's already got a connector in here, it's pretty locked in there. So this is just sort of like, worst case scenario. The trigger, it's pretty good. It is a slide though, because if you look here, you'll see that plastic part moves back and forth. And you see this, all it does is slide back and forth. It's not a really arcing trigger, so it takes a while to get used to. And also, the gun, the handle, is pretty wide. I have medium-sized hands, but it's still not quite as small as I would like it to be. Regardless, it's still a great feeling peripheral. But how does it work with classic games? I tested it with Link's crossbow training, and it plays pretty well, but the IR sensitivity on that game is kind of laggy. You'll see yourself holding it, and of course you're going to be shaking a little bit because you can't have a perfect steady aim. Your icon crosshair will move at a weird frame rate that isn't exactly perfect 60 frames. So it's only with this that you actually realize that, and you take notice that, okay, you need to really compensate for that. Otherwise, it's pretty accurate. House of the Dead 2, which I played this, it's a pretty perfect port of the game. Plays flawlessly. It's probably the best version of an IR light gun game. It's very accurate. It requires you to calibrate using the two corners. So you're at this corner and then that corner. So those two corners right there. And it's remarkably accurate as long as I think you're standing. I haven't tried moving around with it, but it's still pretty accurate. You feel like you're there. In fact, you don't really need a crosshair in that game. It's the way it's meant to be played. You don't need it, and it's really accurate. Has the game work with it? Great. It doesn't mean there aren't complaints with it. A major complaint is the fact that when you put a Wiimote in here, you'll see that there's a sort of a retina of which you can aim right here. Now, of course, this only works if there's another pin on the opposite end of which to aim it with. I'm not sure what they were thinking. They could have put something on the red part here, but they didn't. And I'm not really sure if you're supposed to use the D-pad, which sort of sticks up a little bit as your little retina. But it's kind of confusing, and it doesn't really give you a precise aiming. You sort of have to hold it up as straight as you think it'll go, shoot, approximate where that was, and then hold it straight, and then just move like that, which is fine, but could have been a little bit better. It could have been just immediately intuitive. And I'm comparing this to the GunCon 2 for the PlayStation 2, which is the most accurate light gun game ever created. All in all, for $15, it's a great piece of plastic, and in certain old school hardcore scenarios, it surpasses the Zapper, but in others, you still need the Zapper. So it's a must-have if you're a light gun fan and you are really animate about it. Otherwise, you could pass on it. So it's my review, and also for this, perfect port of House of the Dead 2. House of the Dead 3 has some instances of slowdown. Not too big of a deal, but every once in a while you'll catch it coming. And also, the game isn't quite as memorable as House of the Dead 2. 3 just isn't up to par. It's still fun, it's still great, and is graphically better, just isn't as remarkable. For the most part, you're getting a good package. It's not filled with a lot of extras. It's just the 2 games and a few extra modes with training, tutorial vids, and like an extreme and original mode. Original mode is basically just like any other Sega game where it's sort of RPG-ish, where you buy items and you upgrade yourself with credits and more bullets and maybe different guns. Extreme is just a harder version of arcade mode. There's boss mode and all that stuff. It's really for hardcore arcade light gun fans. If you're not into it, I recommend getting it simply for House of the Dead 2. But even then, it's pushing it, because at the time it was great. It still is great from a certain, gameplay perspective. But the presentation is really bad. The voice acting is bad, which is funny and really awesome, but a lot of people won't like that. And it's really short. Arcade games are really short these days, so I recommend it to light gun fans. I recommend it to people that are looking for something new to play on their Wii Zapper, or want to get this. They want to play like the old school way. I recommend it to people who've played the original before and want to play it again. I recommend it to people who have never played it before. But if you're not interested in it at all, and you just don't care about it, then it's not worth your time. And that's about it. So I hope this helps you in buying your product.